7,000 years. That is how far we can trace back the evidence and ancestry of the people of modern-day Cambodia. Disclaimer, I'm not going to be covering the Khmer Rouge in this video. One, because I'm not ready to make that video yet, and two, because it's such a recent and widespread tragedy, the atrocities from these 4 years usually overshadow much of everything else about Cambodian history in the mainstream. Speaking as someone who grew up in America, of course. But for this video, I want you to be able to breathe easy and just see all of the cool things I found about my or our history. The Stone Age. Going back to 5000 BC, there are surviving pieces of pottery and kiln in modern-day Cambodia. This is evidence that people lived on these lands for at least 7,000 years. They're found all over the Angkor and surrounding regions, as well as regions in modern-day Thailand. They're still uncovering new ones to this day. Here's an article from 2 years ago of the Apsara National Association uncovering one. In addition to these kilns and pottery, there are stone tools for hunting and making other stone tools, suggesting these people had complex lives and they did all of the things that make people people. And now we're going to go forward 4,000 years. We reach the Iron Age and our first kingdom. The Funan Kingdom showed up in Chinese records describing the region around the Mekong River that's now modern-day Cambodia and Vietnam as high population and urban centers, the production of surplus food, socio-political stratification, and legitimized by Indian religious ideologies. From this time period, we have jewelries, statues, stories, and tablets with writing on it that, to the untrained eye, look a lot like the Khmer that we're gonna come to know and love. Okay, dates get a little wibbly when you don't have a lot of records, but skipping 500 years, the Funan Kingdom came and went. Mind you, America is only 249 years old, so we're skipping about 2 Americas. Now we have the Chenla Empire and ancient Khmer scripts. We can see clear influences of the Sanskrit and Malay, which are 2 ancient Indian languages. If you've ever heard monks chanting Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa, yeah, that's Malay. During this time, we get more statues and a lot of dramas between kings. Fights, breakups, makeups, hot and colds, yes and no's, all shaping up to borders that we'll start to recognize. And out of the Chenla shuffle, we get the Khmer Empire. Now, we're still a long way from Pripswat Snaha Boom 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 or the Vanda and Kongnai collab, but makers gotta make, so what did they make? A few kings into the Khmer Empire, King Saryavaman II commissioned the building of Angkor Wat. And can you guess how long it took to build Angkor Wat? It wasn't 200 years, it wasn't 100 years, it wasn't even 50 years. They built the thing in 30 years. But we're just humble like that. You know why? Because Angkor Wat was the small one. That's right, there's a bigger one next door. There's a bigger and less known Angkor Thom. Literally translates to Angkor Big. It was built in the century after, and boy was it Thom. It was a fortified, moated city that was 2,225 acres, or 1,686 NFL football fields. 4 times the footprint of Angkor Wat. Angkor Thom had 4 entrances, north, south, east, west, and did I mention the moat? Depending on how content creation goes, I'll show you a closer look. After about 500 years of the Khmer Empire, around 1200 and 1300, the Khmer Empire started to decline. There's not much concrete information on why this happened, but there was a decline in the number of building projects and artworks that were abundant in the centuries before. There were conflicts from neighboring countries, cutting off of trade, and there was even evidence of bad growing climates that led to food shortages and all of the struggles that come with a food shortage. And going forward about 100 years of that, the next part gets a little bit dicey, because it's not easy to explain the nuances of colonization in a however long this YouTube video is going to be. And in going through this, I realized that each decade can be a video of its own from here on out, and I don't want this to be an hour-long video. So I'm just going to sum up what's on the Wikipedia page. In 1431, the post-Angkor era, Cambodia starts relations with France, but France also started getting ideas. 400 years later, in August 1863, yeah, we're getting months now, King Norodom, not to be confused with a later King Norodom, signed an agreement to place Cambodia under French protection. This stayed in place until the Japanese occupation in 1953, where King Sihanouk Norodom, grandchild of the king who just signed the agreement, declared independence, and the Khmer people started to regain control of their culture again. They stopped the Romanization of the Khmer culture that was happening under French rule. They reinstated the Khmer script and had a period known as the Royal Crusade for Independence, where Cambodia slowly took back the independence that they wanted through the 1950s and 1960s. Then the 70s. This is the part that I said that I would skip in this video, but let's just fill this space with a quote from the late and great Anthony Bourdain. "Once you've been to Cambodia, you'll never stop wanting to beat Henry Kissinger to death with your bare hands." Happy November 29th if anyone's watching then. So looking forward and outward, while these tumultuous events were going on, there were people around the world protesting the war, which led to countries providing asylum for refugees either at their borders or in their countries. And I thought it'd be neat to say them all out loud. Thailand, Philippines, Malaysia, France, Sweden, Germany, UK, Netherlands, Austria, New Zealand, Japan, Vietnam, China, Australia, Canada, and saving the largest number of refugees to a country for last because this country only deals in large numbers, the United States of America. Thanks to many civil rights advocates that fought for the legislation that allowed Southeast Asian refugees to find a home here in America, around 150,000 Cambodians were granted asylum in America during this time, which is still the biggest migration of Cambodians into the United States to date. And that pretty much brings us to the end of this video. Hope you had fun, hope you learned something, and shoutouts to the Apsara National Association for their continued work like uncovering the kilns in Phnom Penh, Wikipedia for hosting all of this information, Patreon, TikTok, and all of the links to all the other sources that I used to make this video are going to be in the description. Like, share, and subscribe. King Suryavaman King Suryavaman